What's up, spell slingers? My name is Garion John Wells.
I'm Drew Flitton.
And this is Untap
Upkeep.
Drink.
Beer up. Welcome back to another episode of Untap Upkeep Drink. Today, we're talking about Secret Lair. And more than that, we're also going to be talking about Pioneer a little bit. The meta has been evolving in a way that I don't think we predicted, really.
Yeah. Well, in the SCG, like, invitational with all the Field of the Dead shit, I don't know if you watched it. It was like every deck, no matter what the color scheme was also playing a Field of the Dead package, and it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of saw that with Standard. But before we get into that, let's talk about the brews here.
We're going to be doing some interesting beers here. We're going to revisit the Nut Brown that we brewed for Brewers Week in October. We've had a couple months in the bottles. We're going to see how this beer has matured. That's the one that I've got. And what would we say, 5% almost on the head?
I would guess it's about 5.8.
Ooh. And there was no way for us to measure the IBUs, but it was quite sweet.
Yeah.
The last time we tried it.
Hop characteristics is like kind of a little bit of earthiness to it, but it's really not existent.
Oh, that is so weird. So it's way less sweet than it was, but it's still super sweet. But it's got almost like not a tang, it's got almost like a fungal mushroom-y kind of earthy vibe to it. But overall, it's just malty bread, some sweetness. Tastes like it should be thick, but it feels very, very thin. That's a good-ass beer, my friend. We did quite a good job.
I definitely wouldn't call it an ass beer, but it definitely has that sweetness that, I don't know, it just overpowers everything else.
Yeah, it is really sweet, which is why I like it, but I could see it being, the people who lean away from sweet beers probably aren't going to have 4 or 5 of these.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think we did a hella good job on this beer. It was a good experience, and hopefully we can brew some more on the show eventually.
But for me, it just tastes like malt extract. Like, it's just way too sweet.
It is very sweet.
All right, so the one I've got here is the Mother Earth Brew Company's Barrel Aged 4 Seasons. So this is the spring version of the 4 Seasons that they made in 2019. And this is an Imperial Stout brewed with tart cherries and chocolate. I do like the addition that they've got here, the little blurb. And on the can, they've got a blend of bourbon barrel aged stouts aged on tart cherries with pure liquid cacao added.
So before we even get to smell or taste, I can see through my Nut Brown in the glass. It's pretty, dark brown. I can sort of see through my Nut Brown in the bottle. It looks kind of, brownish black. I cannot see through the Imperial Stout in the glass. It is just 100% tar in color.
Oh, fuck, that smells real good.
Yeah.
Like, it smells like an Imperial Stout with, like, a little bit of fruity sweetness. I'm not getting cherry specifically, but
it's mostly the chocolate.
I guess it probably was around, like, 55, 60 when they started to age it. But, goddamn, that's good beer.
One more little sip, and then I'll give that back to you. That, you can definitely taste the burn of the alcohol first. I get that lingering on my tongue, but I get the, it's very dark, but it's the cherry flavor coming through, almost like when you have not a maraschino, but like a cherry cordial with dark chocolate or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to me, it reminds me of a Black Forest cake, which is like the dark chocolate and cherry cake. I mean,
yeah, it's definitely got that like bitter cocoa vibe.
Yeah, and I do understand like the alcohol, that lingering, because it does feel like after you've like sipped on a whiskey or taken a shot, you have that kind of like alcohol vapor feeling.
I would guess the bitterness is pretty high though, just because the malts are there that are kind of the darker burnt charred malts, and then the chocolate there. That's a special occasion beer. Obviously, you're not going to be slamming a 6er of those, but
But I would like to just buy another 6er of them.
Oh yeah, just to have around. So today we are going to be doing a mini. It's going to be a little shorter than normal. We're kind of talking updates, but not really. It's more like a Christmas beware buying guide kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on that we're excited about as Magic players. It's the holidays, people are buying stuff. So we just kind of wanted to go over Secret Lair because it seems to be the big hype right now. and we're right in the middle of it, you know?
Yeah, and also with Secret Lair, I mean, I guess first and foremost, we should explain what it is. It was kind of this out of the blue product line. It's just weird to me because it reminds me of like video games where they have like these like surprise drops for like loot or whatever it happens to be. And it's just like, oh, by the way, we have this like secret patch update and here's some cool shit for you for free for like Christmas or whatever.
You have to buy it now.
Yeah, either it's have to buy it now or just like, hey, you're going to get it anyways because you're playing the game at this time. You know, and that's kind of what it feels like. But it feels like it's doing that sort of loot box thing in the most annoying microtransaction-y way. It's like, hey, there's this like very high quality item. There's a very like limited amount of time you have to get it.
Yeah.
Therefore, spend more money than you normally would on a similar item just to make sure that you do get it now.
Exactly. And to drop it around December obviously is very heavily influenced on gifting. So what Secret Lair is it's 7 drops, they're calling them. There's 7 products that they're releasing that are sort of a bundle of cards. Monday, they opened up the first quote-unquote drop, which is basically all of the 7 products at once. You could order them as a bundle for a discount. But basically what we have is Bitter Blossom Dreams, which is the first drop. It's Bitter Blossom, a full art Bitter Blossom with 4 full art tokens that together form a panorama in their artwork.
Yeah, and we shouldn't necessarily say full art because, well, it is full art. It's like the new full art that they've been doing for like the standard premium, like the game night stuff. The one where if you win your FNM, then you get those cards.
Yeah.
And so the art like goes behind the text and stuff like that. And it looks really good. It's still like a very good art. And together they all form a panorama, which is really cool. And Garion was kind of like a little bit annoyed that they didn't go with like a borderless one on this one.
I mean, if you're going to do a panorama, like make them seamless, you know, you have the capabilities.
And I think what annoys me the most about this is, as you said, they're calling them drops.
Yeah.
Like, and all of the gamer part of me is screaming, this is a trap because they are calling them drops. Like to me, that suggests some sort of like RNG manipulation or some sort of like,
we're dropping this on you, surprise.
Yeah.
Here you go. Yeah.
And I do appreciate having surprises like that, but something like this is so frustrating to me, not because of what the product is, because I think that if you're getting Bitter Blossom for $29.95 at this point in time or whatever it was,
$29.99,
then that's, I mean, Bitter Blossom has been like a $40 card forever.
Yeah.
This is a good deal if you're just getting Bitter Blossom alone, plus you're getting some dope new art, full, you know, quote unquote full art, new art for it, and then as well as the new art for the fairies. All of that is a good deal, but you're doing so with a product that you're calling Lair just like a month after you just put out an announcement for one of your major products of the next year that also is called Lair.
Yeah.
Like, it's Cory, Lair of the Behemoths. But everything in design and like product design that I understand says that you don't fucking do this because it's confusing. Like you shouldn't make products that do this. Like this is a really horrible way to keep your design going, is to have those references either to, you know, other things already developed, right? There's a reason why we didn't call it postmodern.
Right.
Right. And now you're calling it Lair, and this is a product that is, you know, Secret Lair.
Which that's the thing is like if they're an inside joke in the company, that's funny for those inside people, but it's not for the customers. And Secret Lair is a great name for the products that we're getting. Lair of Behemoths, great name, but just knowing that those two things are coming out, not just in Magic, but literally months apart, that's when it's it's sketchy. I don't know.
It's just the worst way that you could do something like that. And I'm sure that there was earlier talks about it, but unless you're just so entrenched in the Magic community that somebody says the word Lair and you're like, oh, I know exactly what they're talking about with this new product because they've, you know, hinted at it or whatever it is.
Whereas other Lair.
Yeah, whereas someone who is literally on a Magic podcast didn't know what the fuck it was because it was so relatable to something else that they had already talked about.
Yeah, that you already thought you knew what was going on. Yeah. Well, and another thing that's really weird about this drop is that they're they're allowing an unlimited quantity to be sold, but only a limited quantity to be bought. So you can only buy 10 copies of each of these drops. So, and they're not distributing them through game stores or LGSs. So now you have this situation like where you are sitting right now. You missed that Bitter Blossom. So you're going to, if you wanted that drop, you're going to have to get it on the secondary market, which is guaranteed
the card itself
to be
is already, like a $40 card.
Yeah, more expensive than what you could have gotten.
So now we've got the alt art version of it in that pseudo, full art.
Yeah.
Everywhere I've looked, it's already $4 or more.
Yeah.
Then in order to get the whole value of that, I also have to buy the tokens, which individually are going for like literally from, I saw $2 to $10 individually.
Right. And you can't just buy 4 of one because they're 4 different tokens. So yeah, I like that it feels special. It's kind of a special edition kind of thing, but I don't love...
It's been handled poorly, honestly.
Yeah. I don't love that basically it's making these new editions of cards. It should feel like a collector's item where it's like, okay, a limited amount of people are going to get this. Well, no, people are going to buy 10 copies and sell them on the secondary market. You know what I mean? Yeah. It should be 1 copy each. And they should sell them to the LGS. I think the 10 copies each is so that these LGS stores can have some sort of resale value. Just fucking sell them through the LGS. I don't know. So Bitter Blossom was the drop that we just talked about. $29.99 for Bitter Blossom and 4 fairy tokens. The next drop is, they're titling it Eldraine Wonderland. So this is 5 snow basics.
Yeah, it's one of each with new art, and it is themed with Throne of Eldraine.
Yeah.
But as the title suggests, and as they are snow basics, it is kind of like a winter wonderland. The art on them is honestly like really fucking good.
They're great art. But it's also $29.99 for these 5 cards.
Yeah. Again, this is one of those like premium collector's items that if you care about, you're probably already going to buy them anyways. If you're like a big collector, you're going to buy them anyways. Yeah. If you're not, it's just like...
It's just not worth the price. And unfortunately, the Modern Horizons basics, the snow basics, are like $3 a piece or $4 a piece. So they're less for 5 of them than these are. And this bundle can only be bought with 1 of each color. So you're getting Wooburg every time. So you either have to buy 10 of them, so you have 10 of each land, or you buy 1 and you have 1 snow basic for each color.
So the next one we've got there, so those, like you said, $29.99. And so the next one is the Restless in Peace. Got a Golgari. I mean, it's basically like Dredge.
It's the Dredge All-Star maybes. Yeah.
Which is, I think, really, really funny just because they have just pounded Dredge, ironically, into the dirt.
Yeah.
And it's just...
into the grave.
Yeah. They've just neutered Dredge over the past year, and they've got this product that, I mean, they've probably been working on for at least that long, but the entire time that they've been working on it, it's literally just
like, my value.
Can we do to stop Dredge?
So there's 3 cards. There's Life from the Loam, Golgari Thug, and Bloodghast. And these also form a panorama in their art. By the way, not borderless again, but this is $29.99 as well.
Yeah. And this one, I think that people would have been so stoked because Bloodghast is just a good card on its own. Golgari Thug, I mean, it was a staple of Dredge for, a long time. I think you don't necessarily have to have it in a Dredge deck. It's still just one of the best cards in the Dredge archetype. But I don't know, the fact that they've just been neutering it over and over and over again, it's just like, hey, $30 for, the Life from Them and any 2 cards. And you're like, hell yeah, that's worth. And now it's like, well, they just reprinted Life from Loam in Ultimate Masters, which was one of the box stoppers. Price is going down there, and then they neutered Dredge, and now the price is going down there. And so it's like, buy 3 Life from Loams now and get all of the value you'd get.
The next one is probably, from what I hear, on Twitter and through the internet, is probably the most popular and probably the best thing that they've done as far as this product. It's called Seeing Visions, which is a play set of Serum Visions.
It is a play set. I was going to say it wasn't, but it totally is because it is. They're all the same card, but they each have different art.
And they're totally unique.
Awesome.
I want to say they're themed on different... I mean, they're done by different artists, but they're themed on everybody's different sort of techniques and styles. So there's
one that's like punk, one that is like street art, graffiti.
Exactly.
Like they've got like just cool, like the art is sick.
They're all tight.
And Serum Visions, honestly, this is worth the $30 basically. Mm-hmm. Serum Visions has just been climbing. I think the last time I looked, Serum Visions was like $4 or $5, something like that.
And the package is useful, right? If I want to get Life from the Loams, if I'm playing Modern, I need 4 of them, right? I'm not going to spend $120 for 4 Life from the Loams. I can spend $30 and get a fucking rad set of Serum Visions, and this goes straight into my Modern deck.
Oh, yeah, it goes straight into the Modern deck or every blue Commander deck. Like, it's just...
Also, yeah.
It's weird how I value this one more than most of the other ones.
As a Commander player?
Well, no, not as a Commander player, just as a Magic player, because in Pauper, Serum Visions was one of the cards, you know, but that's one of the reasons why it went up. It's a common that draws 1 and also lets you scry 2. Like, there's so many useful applications of it in basically all formats. Everyone is happy to play it. It cantrips and scries. Like, what more could you ever want for 1 blue mana? It's weird. It's kind of weird to me that I'm hating on a lot of these, but Serum Visions is like, you know, a common.
Yeah.
We're paying $30
for But I think because the package as a whole is probably the most useful thing in this set of drops. Just because if you're going to spend $30 on something that has artwork that you want to have themed, you buy it, you put it in the deck, and you're playing Magic, right?
Yeah, anytime somebody pulls out one of these alt arts, you're like, oh shit, that's so sick.
Yeah, that's tight.
You know, like, and I feel like Bitter Blossoms, while the new alt art is sick, like the original from Rebecca Gay and the new one they had for Ultimate Masters are both just better arts to me than that one is. And that's just like a personal like fan experience, I guess, with that. Not that it's bad art. It's just, I just prefer those ones.
Honestly, that's what I'm getting more from this whole series of drops more than anything is, hey, if you want some unique, newer style art, you should buy these.
Oh, absolutely. I think that the art is the only selling point of all of these.
Although Bitter Blossom, I think buying it as the drop, you did save money.
Like, from a physical perspective, for sure. And that's when we're talking about, I really just wish Cory was here for it because it's all about goblins. It's called Explosion Sounds, but it's got the sideways, it's got like the greater than, less than signs on either side. So it's like, it's not explosion sounds,
it's an onomatopoeia. This one looks cool. The artwork is very like cartoon. Like if you imagine,
it doesn't fit in normal Magic art.
It's very cartoony, very cool. And I think the people who play these big, fireball red decks appreciate that like whimsy. Like, haha, we're goblins. As far as value, I think we're pretty close to breaking even. I think when we add it up, I don't think you're coming out way ahead, but the people who are buying this are doing it specifically for the whimsy of the art.
Yeah. Like the cards themselves are good. Like you play them in, literally one deck, which is the mono red goblins.
Yeah. But I guess we should say what the cards are. There's Goblin Bushwhacker, Goblin Sharpshooter, Goblin King, Goblin Lackey, and Goblin Pile Driver.
But yeah, literally this one is all about the whimsy of just like, hey, you're a Goblin player, you appreciate, the cards themselves. A lot of them are kind of like, I don't think necessarily fan favorites, but they're like fan favorite adjacent. Like they didn't want to print the best ones.
Yeah.
And so they got to print like the next closest thing they can.
Second tier of all of them.
But I honestly think that this one, like, if you're a fan of the Goblins, you're a fan of the art, like the $30, like you're totally.
To me, this one's probably the coolest one because you're gonna buy this one just for the looks. You know what I mean? Just for the what the fuck's in this store because that's the type of red player you are. Cory, we're looking at you. Hopefully, you're making a good cake right now. This next drop is probably the one that hyped this Secret Lair the most.
This one is definitely the most bang for your buck.
Yeah,
it's also the most expensive one at $39.99.
Yep, instead of being $29.99, we've got $40 for 3 cards, but they're all 5-color commanders.
Yeah, so we've got the Ur Dragon, Reaper King, and Sliver Overlord.
Fuck.
But you look at Ur Dragon, he was only printed in C17 Commander deck.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have really kind of fallen in love with that just because it's literally just like everything you love about the big, dumb, stompy side
right.
of the dragons. not like that, just legitimate power level, but just like, hey, I'm going to play just ridiculous big creatures that fly, trample, and just fuck shit up.
Yep. Everything's a 10/10. Let's go.
Like, I do appreciate that. And then Reaper King, we talked about with Michael.
Yeah, Reaper King's been like $20 for years now.
Like, have that weird, like, vibrating thing if you look at it in the short term, but realistically, it's basically just been a straight line forever. And then the Overlord, man.
Fucking slivers, man.
Right, so Sliver Overlord was originally printed in Scourge, and then I think it got a reprint in one of the, I don't know if it was like a dual deck kind of thing or whatever it was, but basically those two prints have been like hovering between 30 and 50, something like that. So that alone, if you just get that one card from the three of those, you're getting your money's worth. Throw in Reaper King on top of that, you know, you're making bank. Throw in the Dragon, which, I mean, it hasn't been like the most expensive card, but I think that people have really just fallen in love with 5-color dragons since the beginning of, you know, dragons being printed in Magic in all 5 colors. And I don't think that's ever going to change, so it's just always going to be a card that is worth something.
The last one we have, talk about fucking whimsy here, is called Oh My God Kitties.
No, it's OMG.
That's true.
Kitties.
OMG Kitties. This one, it's definitely for the players out there who, I mean, first of all, they're all green and white cards. They're all like the staple cats of the I guess,
this is definitely a Commander.
Yeah, it's a Commander product.
There's 5 actual cards and then 2 tokens, I think.
And 2 kitty tokens. Yeah, we've got Arabo, Roar of the World, Leonin War Leader, Miri Weatherlight Duelist, Quasali Slingers, Regal Caracal, and then obviously the 2 cat tokens. But the art is just ridiculous. It's just cute.
So like, it's kitties. Like, what is that? Chibi, I think it is. Like anime style, where they just have like big heads and
but they're interposed into the actual artwork that they had before, so it's not like brand new art. It's like they've been replaced.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like they took the background from the old art and then threw in this like cartoony cat. It is cool, and I do appreciate like, I mean, it's kind of like the Japanese planeswalkers. Yeah. From War of the Spark, where that's what it really reminds me of, just because it is just like so not Magic, while at the same time being 100% entirely Magic.
This is just for your personality. This is just because you want these unique cards. But I think at the same time, it does benefit those types of players, because really those are the types of players who spend money on whimsical thing, in, you know, the whimsical side of Magic anyway.
Yeah.
Overall, what's your impression of the Secret Lair, other than the fact that you were confused by the name?
I think that the product itself is fine, but how they went about doing it, promoting it, announcing it, pisses me right the fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I hate more in any sort of like market like this, whether it's digital games, real games, card games, whatever it is, where you have such a ridiculously limited window to buy something or limited product availability.
Yeah.
Right. And we talked about it on the episode where we talked about Commander anthologies, right? This feels very similar to that, more so than any other product that we've talked about, because it's so limited, and it is intentionally limited this time.
Yeah.
Even though they do have all of the other things in the past, 10 years of Magic, where they have these sort of limited products that has gone poorly. Like, you look at Mythic Edition, you look at anthologies, you look at the From the Vault series stuff. Like, anytime there was limited product availability, people just were fucking mad, because a lot of them just aren't announced well. They're not released well. They're not like there's just like a stack of problems that keeps coming up, and it's repeated over and over and over again.
I think that's probably enough about Secret Lair. I am excited about what's released. I think there are some cool cards. The way they've done it has been a bummer. Yeah. Let's move on. Well, let's go back to these beers real quick before we talk about some bans and shit that's going on in Pioneer. Pioneer, some changes already, man.
Yeah,
it's shaping up to be quite format.
It's certainly going to be interesting. So the first one we have here is the homebrew that we had, the Northern Brewing Company's Nut Brown Ale.
It's still very, I mean, without sounding stupid, it's nutty. You know what I mean? It's very earthy. I always say mushroom-like quality, but it doesn't taste like mushrooms. You know what I mean? It's just very earthy
out of a beer.
But the first time we tried it, I got a whole lot of rye. Like, I got very like bread, flour kind of tastes. And this time around, I'm not getting that at all. It's just malt and earthy, kind of nutty tones.
I think
no
we
hops.
Cracked into it 2 weeks after bottling.
The day it was ready.
Yeah, literally the first day that we're allowed to do so. It still had kind of the yeasty quality to it.
Yeah.
And that's definitely just gone.
Which, I mean, I kind of appreciate as far as a brewing standpoint, but I liked the way that it tasted.
Yeah.
2 weeks out. I think it was even sweeter, even though this beer is already hella sweet.
Yeah, I think it's sweeter now, but it could just be like a perspective thing.
Maybe, yeah. Talk about a beer that should be sweet, but is not as sweet as I thought it would be.
I mean, I think it's still plenty sweet.
Your beer, it's Mother Earth Brewing?
Yeah, Mother Earth Brew Co.
So this is the Imperial Stout brewed with tart cherries and chocolate. Just the smell is enough to entice you.
Yeah, I mean, the more I drink it, the more of that Imperial Stout flavor that comes through. Like initially, you really did have that, like stout to chocolate to cherry, like wave, and now it's all kind of like blended together on my palate, and
I could see that. Yeah,
it's really good. This is one of those beers that like you really do want to just like sip and enjoy over a long period of time. Like you want your 16 ounces or whatever it is to go as far as it possibly can.
The qualities texture-wise are very thick, very I think on the can they said
this was
viscous.
Yeah, in the description. I don't know if it's on the can or just on their website, but yeah, like that is such a good descriptor. And it's not one that I think I want in most of my beers.
No, it doesn't feel like a chocolate shake or anything like that, but it definitely feels substantial. You're not just drinking, a watered down version of some, Utah beer. Obviously beer of the show, but we only had two. The least important, but the most important for the people who need to hear it. We've got a couple more bannings that we would like to talk about real quick for the end of this episode. First of all, I'd like to celebrate with everyone because Oko's finally fucking gone in standard.
Yeah, we talked about
I don't even
this.
play standard.
We knew it was coming.
But just hearing Oko so many times in a day can just wear on your psyche. I'm glad he's gone, and I didn't even have to play with or against him. Like, that's how bad it was.
Pre-release.
I don't think I even saw him at the pre-release.
Oh, really? Oh,
no.
That's all I had.
But Pioneer also received some bans. The first one I want to talk about is Field of the Dead, which is banned in Standard and Pioneer now.
I think it's one that we probably should have saw coming, and for some reason we just...
This card, I think what people undervalued with Field of the Dead is that one copy of Field of the Dead, every time you play a land...
Oh, it's massive.
When you finally get up to 7 lands, you're like, oh, okay, I get a zombie.
Well,
Big deal.
What is the worst thing to do in Magic late game?
Draw a land, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Now, every land that you draw is basically a zombie that you play that's virtually uninteractable for your opponent.
The only thing I think that people undervalued with it is that now you have to skew your mana base in order to make this work, which the decks that are taking advantage of that don't give a fuck because they're, the Sultai, maybe Esper, Abzan kind of things. They're mostly Sultai mid-range decks that want a lot of lands and they don't care where they come from. They're cool with them all being different names.
You say that it's Sultai, but it's not just Sultai. All of the decks that I see are so varied, except for one thing, green.
That's true.
Green.
Yeah.
But like we're talking about, Sultai, Gruul was using it for a little while. There was the 4-color Kethis deck. There was so many different decks. The 5-color Golos deck, there was so many ridiculous amount of decks that had access to this card.
That's true. It was worth playing in almost anything that was going to go along, basically.
We're talking about 4-color decks wanting to play a land that produces colorless.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
But like I was saying, when you look at it as just one card by itself, I think a lot of people undervalued it when it came out. But what you see is people pulling out 1, 2, 3 copies of Field of the Dead and then circuitous routing to create 8 zombies a turn or, 4 zombies a turn. And all of a sudden you have such a massive board advantage just for playing fucking lands that, like you said, it circumvents control. There's just so many ways that it makes it uninteractable. You just can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Which I think is why it got banned. Not because it was good. We like good Magic cards, but because it just became so impossibly good and uninteractable that, like you said, it was in every deck that could play it. So the first one to go, Field of the Dead.
Holy shit. This is something that I never thought I would see again for like a long, long time. But green is the most powerful color in a format. You look at Pioneer, you look at the top like 10 decks, and probably 6 or 7 of them are playing green.
At least, yeah.
It's insane, the power level of green right now.
Because mono green's good, Simic's good.
Gruul's been good.
Golgari's good.
Golgari's real good.
Sultai obviously is hella good.
Yeah, but
Abzan might be...
Abzan is still fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, it actually took a hit. But with that, we see that a lot of the bannings at the early stages of Pioneer have been green cards.
They're trying to tame it,
that have this kind of, not necessarily reliance on green.
No,
like,
they're the cards that make you feel like you have to put green in, right? Because of the value that these cards are creating just by having the color green in your deck.
Yeah, and if we're talking about value, we've got Once Upon a Time, which is one of the cards from when we're talking about Eldraine that I was just kind of like, man, this card is fucking good.
I think when people saw it, they were like, that's too much. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, because it was similar to another card that was already playable, and then it was like kind of better and worse all at the same time, and then you actually see what you're able to do with it. It's like 2 mana, pick the top 4 cards. Of the top 4 cards of your library, pick the best one, put it in your hand.
5.
It's 5?
5.
Jesus, I think the old one was 4, and that's what I'm thinking of. But like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, hey, your deck already runs creatures. It already wants to, have this sort of acceleration. Let's give you a 2 mana draw spell. Like, blue wants a 2 mana draw spell in like standard environments sometimes.
So bad.
And now we're just letting you say, hey, scry 5, pick the best one, draw that one.
The last card we're going to talk about on the ban list.
Scooter.
Yeah, we got Smuggler's Copter. This card was so close to making the cut on my mono red deck in Pioneer. Like, I literally thought about it.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, it's a 2-drop and you have to crew it, but
it's
fucking draws you the card.
And I think so. Smuggler's Copter, I think, was probably the first card that was banned in the Kaladesh Aether Revolt block when it was popped out, just because it was like, holy shit, this card has so much value written all over it that it's just insane. Like, this is one of the cards that I was debating in the Emery artifact deck that I talked about, just because it has that potential just to start coming out of the gate, and it just gets you so much card advantage that you just throw away cards you don't care about, cards that maybe you can get back. Like the fact that we have jumpstart cards, right? Like, people are already playing the jumpstart cards, and it was part of what made the Is It Phoenix deck, good in its standard time. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't know, there's just so much ridiculous value, honestly, that Looter Scooter can get you, that I think it's one that we should have expected, and I don't know why a lot of people just weren't talking about it. I think that it's just one of those that maybe it's because it was banned almost immediately in the standard environment that it was in, that people were just like...
People didn't see its impact.
We just forgot about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, it just wasn't the card that was up front and central. But since the mono black aggro deck kind of took the forefront, it's just one of the cards that, seeing it now, it's like, oh yeah, that needed to go. That makes sense. Whether it be the mono black aggro deck, which was surprisingly fast and could really have that punch, or just the mono red deck, which we've already been talking about. Yeah. I think that any deck that wants to have that aggro strategy, because the crew cost is so low and the value on it's so high, the Boros aggro, mono red, mono black, as long as you're turning dudes sideways and that's your plan, like, it doesn't matter what the extra cost is on that, to also just loot for free.
So I think Pioneer's shaping up. I honestly hope that MF Vegas has a Pioneer event, because I'm totally going.
It definitely will. There's no way they
don't. You think so? Oh man, I'm stoked for Vegas next year. I think I've convinced at least 2 of our play group to commit to going next year, so we're probably gonna be there as a team, as a UUD team.
Get some t-shirts and
hand out some fucking hats. Yeah. I want to play some Pioneer, bro. That's what I'm excited about. But I think that takes care of it for now. We covered the bans. They're probably going to ban some more cards here in the next few weeks, although they've had at least 1, if not 2 weeks where they had no bans. So we know that that's also a possibility.
Let's just say the average banning is about 1 per week.
Yeah. And I mean, they're important. I think they're doing it smart too. They waited a few weeks to see like what needed to be banned, because it'd be easy to just say, Oko, we just banned it in standard, let's ban it here. But maybe they didn't see as much Oko as they thought they would.
Yeah. Well, I think more than that, just like,
you see more, I think Veil of 3 mana Teferi than you do Oko.
Yeah, I still don't think Green Manta Fairy's even like. I think that you just have like some nightmare flashbacks on that one.
Well, maybe. I mean, that's possible. But I mean, I've seen it at the SCG tour. They were taking it down with Esper Control as well. You know what I mean? I just have seen it more than Oko. So like maybe Oko's not as important to this format as we thought it would be. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Obviously, we haven't said it in the past couple episodes, but don't drink and drive. Don't drink underage. It's just not cool. It's not safe. And we don't want to...
winter here.
Yeah, winter makes it even worse. We don't want to be responsible for that shit. If you're not quite of age, just imagine you're drinking along with us till you're 21.
Yeah. We'll tell you what the flavors are. You
Yeah.
know what they're like.
It's fantastic. Also, if you are of age, let us know what your favorite beers are. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We would really love you guys to subscribe and like on the YouTube channel. We're trying to get that up a little bit more so that we can start
YouTube
doing
is
video.
like really hard to...
Yeah, YouTube's hard to monetize, which is weird. There are whisperings of a Patreon in the works. It's not quite out yet, but we would love to get feedback. If you guys have certain rewards you'd be looking at, we are absolutely all ears. So hit us up. We're at UUD Podcast or Untap Upkeep Drink.
Yeah, and with that as well, we have tried to figure out the Discord channel for us.
Yeah.
If that's something you're interested in, let us know as well, because if there is a platform to communicate on that works for everybody, just to get not just us involved with what you guys are doing, but also just you guys talking to each other, that's something that we definitely are willing to host and make sure that we've got a nice place for everybody just to hang out.
Just a community hub, yeah. But thank you guys for listening in, and as we like to say on this podcast, have fun.
Not too much.